Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Today's big news is the existing coal shortage in India and along with it the looming power crisis that the entire country is facing. But before we go deeper into this, a reminder, tomorrow's class in the Target Prelims 2022 Crash Course series on the YouTube will be on places in news throughout the last year. I hope that all of you are attending the prelims crash course on the YouTube channel of BYJU'S IAS. If not, do subscribe to the channel right away and keep attending these classes every evening at 7:30 p.m. where we discuss important current affairs from specific topics in the last 1 year or so to ensure that your preparation before the prelims examination is up to the mark. Now let's begin today's topic, that is the shortage of coal in the country. Now, this is a topic that has been in the news all across the country in every newspaper and in news channel. Not just this, you are seeing it in your real life also. Most probably in your own household, irrespective of wherever you are living right now, there are power cuts for long durations. And all of that is connected somehow to the shortage of coal. Now, there are a lot of factors which have contributed towards all this problem. The first major reason behind this problem is that the peak demand has risen considerably. The month of March and April in 2022 were some of the hottest months that we have seen in India for many decades. Now, people in India who used to switch on their air conditioners in the end of April or in the middle of April or in many cases in the month of May would now switch on their air conditioners in the month of March itself. That means that the power demand across the country, specifically in North India, is increasing, which was not expected earlier, which is resulting in peak shortages across many states, so much so that it has in fact reached double digits. Because of increasing demand, you need to burn more coal to produce more energy, and that is where lack of coal is becoming a problem. On an average, the coal stocks are only available for about 8 days of power generation, although the norm is that the power generation plant should have at least 24 days of coal remaining. The situation is even far worse in some of the other power plants which are in the coastal areas where they only have 1 or 2 days of coal remaining. So the situation is extremely serious. In fact, the Indian Express tells us out of the 173 thermal power plants in the country, 108 have critically low levels of stock, means less than 25% of the required stock. That means that the situation can go even worse after this. Also, after the COVID pandemic, when India is in the phase of economic recovery, the power demand has increased considerably even in the industrial sector. So it's not just in the residential sector, but in the industrial sector also there's a high power demand. And this is not just with India. If you are following international news, you would see that the increased temperatures have become a norm in entire South Asia. So it's not that only India needs more coal. Almost every country requires more coal right now, and all of them are importing coal, which has given rise to a bigger competition. So there is lesser supply of coal and more demand, means the prices of coal in the international market have increased, which have added to our problems. Now, if you look at the data, although India has been making a strong push towards renewable energy and green power, but still coal makes up for 70% of India's power demand. And that is why we are still highly dependent on coal as a country for all our energy needs. In fact, the electricity that is required in residential and industrial areas is also increasing month after month as per the numbers given by the Central Electricity Authority, which is also a concern considering the present stock of coal that we have right now. And the end result is load shedding. Load shedding means power cuts, where the government has to decide in which area do you have to cut power for how many hours, and that is what we are seeing in multiple states across the country right now. In fact, Jharkhand has been facing an average supply shortage of 10 to 12%, which is the worst in the country. Same is the case with Andhra Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, and Haryana as well. Now, we did discuss the fact it is not just India that requires coal in large quantity right now to produce power, it is with many other countries across the world. At the same time, there has been a disruption in the international supply chain of coal because of the Russia Ukraine crisis. Now, we know that Russia exports a lot of coal across the world, and because that supply chain has been disrupted, there is a disruption across the world when it comes to buying of coal by different nations. which is leading to an increase in the cost. In fact, the cost of imported coal in India is expected to rise by 35% in the fiscal year 2022-23, and power producers may even have to pay premium up to 300%, means three times the price of coal in the domestic coal market, which is a very, very bad sign for the times to come. So everything that can go wrong right now in the power sector of India is going wrong. Increased demand, decreased supply of coal, increase in the international prices of coal, all of this is happening all of a sudden. And also, this is a month where North India and many other parts of the country are facing their worst summer for a very, very long time. Now, what is the government's reaction? The government is trying to plug in one big hole in the coal supply chain, that is with respect to the railways. Now, mostly railways are used to supply coal to thermal power plants across the country, and it is seen that railways may not have been doing a great job at it in the past few years. And that is why the railways also has been asked to increase their capacity to supply coal right now, as a result of which the railways has even cancelled multiple trips of passenger trains so that their tracks are free and the coal trains can now go on for longer distances in shorter periods of time. But for this to make an impact on the ground, it would require a few days for us to see how the things actually turn out. Now, if you can see here, the entire belt of North India, Central India, and in some parts of South India also, we are facing a severe heat wave, and that is why the power demand is extremely, extremely high. Now, as I said, the Indian Railways has a very interesting role to play in ensuring that there is enough coal across the thermal power plants in the country. Railways has about 2,500 rakes. Rakes are those big boxes in which the coal is transported. So about 2,500 rakes are used for coal transportation, and they have a turnaround time of about 4.5 days, especially for the coastal areas. So when they go to the coastal areas, to far off areas to supply coal, they would have to spend on an average 4.5 days. And that is why railways also usually does not really like supplying coal to very far off places, because their turnaround time increases, their tracks are occupied for longer periods of time. And that is why if you see the thermal power plants which are at a far away place nearby the coastal areas, they have even shorter supply of coal. Railways also says that we don't have enough rakes, so they have given orders for having more rakes or containers to supply coal to far off places. Railways has admitted that they do not have any spare capacity and they are working at 100% capacity. On the other hand, we also expect that more rakes will be added to the capacity of the railways, which will be supplied to the railways by BHEL. There are about 42 trains that have already been cancelled for a month, so that we have enough tracks and enough capacity and bandwidth for the railways to supply coal to far off areas in the thermal power plants, hoping that the situation would improve in the coming days. This is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching.